What's going on, guys? This is Ryan with RK Outpost, and there truly is a group of insane people out there. A relatively small number of people, but in some cases, these people are in positions of power, and they are completely detached from reality. They think that if you have a different opinion than them, that is not allowed. If you don't like the same Star Wars movies that they do, well, there must be something wrong with you. You must be a racist. You must be a bigot. You must be a misogynist. And they will do everything in their power to try to silence you and get you deplatformed, because it doesn't matter if you actually have a problem with the story, with the character development. No, they're going to try to label you in whatever way they can to make people despise you. And that is exactly what we're seeing today. Now, this got put out yesterday. Rewriting Ripley podcast. These people have 200 followers on Twitter. They are completely insignificant. They do have a podcast. It's two women. They don't make their names public because of course they don't. Because they are absolute cowards who are trying to write hit pieces to label people to get them deplatformed. But they did come out with a medium piece entitled In Plain Sight: How White Supremacy, Misogyny, and Hate Targeted the Star Wars Sequel Trilogy and Won. Now, this was posted 20 hours ago. It is supposedly a 70-minute read. Now, I can tell you that probably based on these people who wrote it, the people that probably need Velcro shoes still because they haven't quite mastered tying them themselves, it might take them 70 minutes. It does not take 70. It takes about 20 or so, maybe 25 if you're really, really stupid. But accompanying that came this video. Now, before we get into this, which is an absolute load of dog shit, and basically equates to if Twitter is real life, then people loved The Last Jedi, which is obviously not true. This is a crusade by two women who host a podcast to label people as white supremacists, label them as alt-right simply because they don't like the Star Wars sequel trilogy. You're going to see a lot of familiar names and faces, I feel like, in this, including mine, where this little teaser video that has nearly 30,000 views is trying to imply that I was somehow radicalized by these mean people on YouTube. It's pretty stunning when I saw it, to be honest with you. Let's take a watch.
The algorithm is actually trying to find a few rabbit holes that are very powerful and try to find which rabbit hole is the closest to your interest.
For me, once I started diving hard into some of these people's YouTube videos, and you kind of get hooked.
So, to keep in mind, that's the very first video I made. So the reason that I don't sound the way I do now, the reason that I sound so kind of in my shell and not very confident, is because it was the first time I ever recorded a video, ever. That is the first video on my channel that was done a year and a half ago. But they take this video and use snippets of it to try to claim that I was essentially indoctrinated into this culture of hate. Watch. Maybe they'll stop pushing this feminist agenda that has driven Star Wars into the ground.
We are going to talk more about Disney and their feminist agenda.
She has some weird resentment towards the male fans of this franchise.
All-conquering female figure now is occluding this great myth of the hero.
Oh look,
Rey
Ben
had
Shapiro.
randomly
We
been
don't
amazing
like
at everything.
him.
She was the ultimate Mary Sue.
We didn't acknowledge the presence of the ultimate Mary Sue.
Daisy Ridley, she got harassed, but she did something about gun control, so.
Last week, author and writer Chuck Wendig was fired.
James Gunn fired
Hello,
from
Jay.
Guardians of the
Jay
Galaxy
said that
Volume
Chuck Wendig was
3.
fired. That's
This
all.
is awesome.
Documented history of dozens of anti-white tweets.
They're claiming that this was some sort of anti-white genocide.
I'm Dr. Jordan B. Peterson, and you're watching Ethan Van Sciver.
Brings me to Rose. Don't even get me started.
Didn't even have the decency to fucking die.
She better die in the coma because she is a dumbass bitch.
Kelly Marie Tran being chased off. Or, she wasn't chased off, she chose.
Essentially, Space Anita Sarkeesian. Nobody wants her on Earth, nobody wants her in outer space.
And 5 years later, when Bannon wound up at Breitbart, he resolved to try and attract those people over to Breitbart because he thought they could be radicalized. And
I can guarantee you that not even a very big percentage of people that you're trying to include in this list have any idea who Steve Bannon is, to be quite honest with you. A lot of them are from different countries. A lot of them don't have the politics you think they do. And a lot of them might just have no idea.
Kind of populist, nationalist way.
He follows this idea of the Breitbart doctrine, which is that if you want to change politics,
this guy looks trustworthy.
You first have to change culture, because politics flows from culture.
It's not just about Star Wars anymore. It's about all the pop culture that's being invaded.
The battle for Star Wars, the battle for culture.
And I would say that Ichibaka's title of this article is a little tame. She has a huge problem with white people.
Stop trying to turn our
literally
cultural
nothing to do
icons
with
into
what I was saying,
your
does it?
moralistic authoritarianism.
To be a part of that community and that group of people, it was really fun.
Right, so that is the video that is going on that has almost 30,000 views. I'm sure this thing's going to blow up even more. I saw this last night, probably before a lot of you have seen it already circulating around Twitter. I didn't know if I wanted to talk about it or not. I was hoping maybe you just wouldn't do anything because it is laughably stupid. Like the idea, the connection that they are making is laughably dumb. But unfortunately, people are going to take this and they are going to run with it. So I very much am going to go through this with you guys. I'm going to laugh at parts of it and show you how absolutely stupid this entire thing is. And these people that want to think they're pseudo-intellectuals and they really did their research. Look, we proved that people actually liked The Last Jedi. You didn't prove shit. You just used incredibly flawed methodology, but you put it in a quote-unquote 70-minute article with a ton of data points to make people think that this is reality. Now, this entire thing starts out by saying that people actually like The Last Jedi, guys. It was just a small amount of people that didn't like The Last Jedi, completely ignoring the fact or trying to obfuscate the fact that, yeah, Force Awakens made $2 billion. This movie made $1.3 billion. And then followed by that, The Rise of Skywalker made even less, just barely cracked $1 billion. But they want to say that, no, it's actually really well received. It's just a weird group of white supremacist alt-writers on YouTube that don't like this movie. And again, there is so much fluff in this entire article, right? This is the intro. This is the intro where they say that it was basically just angry people that are white supremacists. They didn't like The Last Jedi. In reality, it was loved. What will be discussed? Defining 21st century culture wars, Gamergate, Cambridge Analytica, and the rise of the alt-right. Literally, this is about Gamergate as well. And when you read what they put about the author, I'm a Webby Award-winning product and marketing analyst in emerging technology and video games. My focus for the past 5 years has been on researching and analyzing the second generation of computing, particularly in augmented reality and virtual reality. I'm currently the lead analyst for a AAA game title. So it shouldn't be a surprise that this is a female activist in video games who is still hung up on Gamergate. Rewriting Ripley is a bi-weekly podcast on feminism and fandom in the age of social media, hosted by Katie and Lady V. Again, completely anonymous, hide their faces, hide their identity, because they know if people knew who they were, they wouldn't be taken seriously. That is another tactic that these people like to use. Now here, never just trolls, they have this incredible flowchart that goes from Steve Bannon to Ben Shapiro to some other unsavory people, quote-unquote unsavory people, all the way down somehow to Geeks and Gamers, The Quartering, and Tim Pool. Circle means they spread hate against Lucasfilm employees of the Star Wars sequel trilogy. Now again, this is all about a timeline of quote-unquote outrage media, all the way back in the 80s, saying somehow that this has led to the moment where people don't like The Last Jedi. This is an entire article about Gamergate, and do you think that they talk about what Gamergate actually was? People pushing back against the infusion of SJW and identity politics and the circle jerk that was games journalists and game developers. No, they make this out to be it was an assault and a harassment campaign against women, which it definitively was not. But again, people cannot get out of the Gamergate ideology. It's all about Gamergate. White nationalism targets the Star Wars franchise. They try to say that it started when people attacked and said boycott it because Finn was black. Then they show these that had essentially no interaction. 6 likes, 17 retweets, meaning it got a lot of hate, and 7 comments. 1 like, 0 likes, right? Nobody was interacting with this stuff because it wasn't a reality. It was a couple fucking freaks and weirdos who actually wanted to boycott episode 7 because it had a quote-unquote black stormtrooper. That's the reason that was given. We all know that that is absolutely ridiculous. Oh, by the way, I should mention, all these times when they try to identify Ben Shapiro as a alt-writer, right? Ben Shapiro was the #1 target of the alt-right when it comes to anti-Semitism. That is just a fact. That is legit. There's nothing you can do about that. Yet you want to associate him with the alt-right. You have no idea what you're fucking talking about. It only matters that someone's a minority group or part of one of these victim groups if their ideology associates with yours, doesn't it? We all know that that's the case. Now, this is when they start to get into The Last Jedi. Was The Last Jedi polarizing? A Twitter analysis. Now, what they go into here is a bunch of data points and a bunch of word bubbles like these that try to tell you, look, it was mostly positive in regards to The Last Jedi on Twitter. And it was really just the focus of these alt-writers on YouTube who didn't like it. And then they go into looking at YouTube and seeing how YouTube, if I can scroll down to it right here, and how the different videos on YouTube were very negative about The Last Jedi. The vast majority of them, the ones that were received positive, were very negative about The Last Jedi. What they fail to take into account, instead of assuming, well, maybe my thoughts aren't true, maybe I should validate all these things independently instead of going after what I feel. Because in reality, Twitter does not represent the US population or the population as a whole. Around 22% of American adults use Twitter, but it is not very representative of our population because, one, the small number of people that do it and the way that it skews. Very much younger and very much likely to be left-leaning. That is who's using Twitter. And in fact, 10% of the users create 80% of the tweets on Twitter. Most people that are on there do not even tweet very often. And in fact, the 10% who tweet most often focus more on politics and are mostly women. This is all actual data with actual methodology done by the Pew Research Center. Not a couple crazy cat ladies who like The Last Jedi. When it comes to YouTube, they have far more people associated with YouTube that are active users. In fact, 74% of adults in the United States use YouTube. And those are only the people that are logged into their accounts. That's not counting all these other people. I gotta shut this fucking blind. God damn it. All right, that was absolutely so distracting. But anyway, 74% of people, and that doesn't just skew young or skew left, that skews to all ages and demographics. In fact, very much different from most social media, 70% of 15 to 35-year-olds use it, 73% 36 to 45, 70% 46 to 55, and 67% of those 56 and older. That is very different than most forms of social media. So YouTube, in actuality, is a much better view of culture as a whole, rather than the weirdo echo chamber that is Twitter. And in fact, Twitter is fewer used than even Snapchat. Even more people are on Snapchat than are actively using Twitter. So the idea that this is the way that they're using this methodology inherently is completely flawed. Now, they go on to attack PewDiePie. They go on to attack Vito. Now, Vito, I think Vito's an absolute idiot. An absolute idiot. He's definitely not alt-right. They don't label him that way, but they say, even though he's a leftist, he's still a racist. Okay, gotcha. So it doesn't have anything to do with being alt-right. Okay, they talk about Dave Rubin. They talk about Ben Shapiro. Now they talk about IDR Labs. I don't even know who that is. The Star Wars alt-right recruitment problem. Again, the labeling of everybody that you disagree with as alt-right is absolute insanity. And in fact, when we go here, let's take a look, shall we? Should we look at what they used for how they decided to label people? The following criteria was used to classify an account as alt-right/radical right. The majority of the account must have been dedicated to pushing right-wing political ideology. I've never talked about my political ideology. I've never talked about politics on this channel intentionally because it doesn't matter towards what we're talking about. I don't want to talk about politics on my channel. That included characteristics of alt-right or radical right-wing spaces, including anti-feminist rhetoric and targeting of female creators. By targeting, you mean criticizing? If you criticize any female creator, now you're alt-right. But it gets worse. Targeting people of color or use of anti-white language, conspiracy theories, and our excessive use of Gamergate-era terminology such as SJW. So there it is. If you use the term social justice warrior, you are alt-right/radical right. You might want to tell that to the thousands of left-wing people, the thousands of liberal people who use that ideology or who use that terminology. These people are disgusting, to be quite honest with you. The majority of these YouTubers, who include reactionary alt-right YouTuber The Quartering and comic artist Pro Secrets, are people who have been radicalized by what Gamergate set into motion. Now, they go on to show, oh, look at all these people. They're talking about Dan Slott. He attacks and blocks fans. That's a thumbnail from mine. They're talking about Star Wars. This is Jeremy. These are videos from Jeremy from 2 years ago, making Star Wars great again, talking about Donald Trump. Okay, here's one. They hate white people. Yes, when Christina Ariel and Justina Ireland were talking about racist shit against white people, I called them out. Yet somehow that gets me labeled as alt-right, radical right, because I called out black females being racist. How dare I? Oh, what a terrible person. That's what really all this is about. They are taking the idea that, wow, we didn't like The Last Jedi. We must be evil people. There must be a reason, because no one could not like The Last Jedi. It's critically acclaimed. Twitter makes me think that The Last Jedi was good, so it must be good. These people are insufferable weirdos who are hanging out with their cats because they can't actually find a man that wants to spend time with them and have decided to make up this entire thing. Top 10 YouTubers mentioning Kathleen Kennedy by number of videos. Look at Mike Zero at 203. He's an other account. Geeks and Gamers with 40. Midnight's Edge 22. Jar Jar Abrams, Clownfish TV, World Class Bullshitters, Beyond the Trail. Ooh, look at me! RK Outpost and that Star Wars girl. All labeled as alt-right. Now they put in what they think all of these people, including myself, have made. They wish that this was accurate. This is absolutely insane for them to think this. Again, they're probably using Social Blade metrics, which are ridiculously stupid. And try to go after Jeremy. They label him as alt-right. They label The Quartering as alt-right. Again, look at charts. Look at all the view counts of these people. There I am over here, 9 million views. Just little me, 9 million views on my channel. I got way more than that now. You gotta bump those numbers up, rookies. I got like 12 million views on my channel, cocksuckers. Come on, get that up. For example, watching any Geeks and Gamers video on how white men are being shut out of Hollywood can lead you to the personal account of Jeremy. And they talk about his political channel that he keeps separate from Geeks and Gamers. Timcast is not an alt-right Star Wars or pop culture channel. Really, it's interesting you don't label Tim Pool as alt-right when he uses the terms SJW, doesn't he? But you don't label him as alt-right because he has a big enough platform, big enough ties that it might not be good if you did that, isn't it? Isn't that right? Fuck you weirdos who are writing this. Oh, they have Ichibaka who tweeted out Proud Boys, again, which has nothing to do with what they put in that video that was, trying to paint me in an incredibly bad light. And I want to go here because indeed they do just label me specifically as an alt-right YouTuber, and I want to address it. Now, this is talking about mass downvote. He tends to target women of color. Really? Because I can pull up the Star Wars YouTube channel and we can look at all these videos that are getting bombed to hell. Don't have anything to do with black people, black women of color. No, it doesn't have anything to do with that. In fact, it's because people are upset with Star Wars. So maybe the reason things are getting downvoted is because of how people feel about the product. Now here we have top videos mentioning Ryan Johnson. Again, Mike Zero, other. For some reason, they include all these Mike Zero videos into the analytics, even though they don't label him as alt-right. Now, Thor Skywalker 13, they label him as alt-right account. Thor Skywalker is, if you watch his videos, he's not political in any way, shape, or form. Not at all. To put him under that label is absolutely disgusting. Again, fuck the stupid people who wrote this article. $3 theater, that's pretty funny, actually. That's pretty funny. Among other targets have included Justina Ireland, Christina Ariel. Again, the women who were spouting anti-white racism on Twitter for fucking years. Well, this person, one particularly vitriolic video from alt-right YouTuber RK Outpost, screams at the High Republicos for being a fucking racist against white men. So again, completely lying. This is libel right here against all these people associated. This 100% is libelous. They should count themselves lucky that they have nothing that anyone would want from them. That there is no monetary value from going after these fucking crazy cat women. They talk about Jack Posobiec, all these things. They talk about Kelly Marie Tran, the like 3 comments that anyone can find, quote unquote, harassing Kelly Marie Tran. They talk about videos mentioning Rose Tico. This is all the same shit over and over and over again. They say, well, you weren't happy with the Rise of Skywalker. They made a mistake trying to retcon everything for these people. And at the end of the day, the entire goal of this article is to get anyone who's associated with it, myself included, deplatformed. That is their end goal. Their end goal is to paint this and paint me as somehow being radicalized by these YouTube channels. This is a joke. These people should not be taken seriously in any way, shape, or form. They are, again, they are pathetic. They're just trying to get attention for their podcast. They don't put their names on it. They don't attach their names. We're just supposed to assume that they know what they're talking about. Even though they try to use Twitter as a justification for the general populace liking The Last Jedi. People despise The Last Jedi. It had nothing to do with bots or review bombing or alt-right YouTube channels. People despise it, which is why it's made so much less than The Force Awakens. And that is why everything that came out after that did so poorly. It's because the bad taste that got left in their mouths after The Last Jedi. And I'm sorry that you like the movie, you weirdos, but that's not a justification to label anyone who disagrees with you as white supremacist, as alt-right, and to try to write this hit piece to get them deplatformed. You are absolute fucking scum. The 2 women that did this. You are the worst of the worst, the lowest of the low. And unfortunately, we have to sit here and address your fucking slanderous, libelous lies. Let me know what you think about all this in the comments below. Smash a like button, subscribe to the channel, ring the bell for notifications, share this video out there, and I'll talk to you later.
Thanks for watching, everyone, and a huge shout out to my patrons. I appreciate you guys so much. Want to follow me on Twitter or Instagram? Check out the description below. You'll find links to my P.O. box and my Patreon as well. And I'll talk to you guys later.